Get ready for Othello, the ultimate game of strategy and skill. Go head-to-head in a battle of wits. Think quick, trap their discs, and claim the row. Hold your nerve, take a chance, and turn the game around. A minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Othello from Ideal.
Othello, a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Now launched in India by Fun School.
Good morning and welcome to Prague and the World Othello Championship 2018. Kristina Mitzi and I, Bengt Stentoft, will start this day with the Studio Othello.
Yes, we'll start today. We have got up really early today to prepare for this day. I think we are the silent heroes of this tournament.
Yeah.
Yes, the silent, exactly. I hope you are all well. You are going to watch really good battles in the first round. Can you announce the battle, please?
Yeah, on table one, and with the expert commentators, Guy Plowman and Geoff Hubbard, we will have Michele Borassi from Switzerland against Milosz Cupial from Poland. And Michele Borassi, he was a world champion 2008 in Stockholm, no, in Oslo.
Norway,
in Oslo. Yeah, because he was there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and Milosz Cupial is one of the best European player, and he was European champion 2009.
Mm-hmm.
In table two, we have a very interesting game against Veronica Stenberg, Sweden, and Velma Fu from Hong Kong.
Yeah, I saw that last time those girls have played each other was in Athens in 2007, and they had a draw. So it
cool.
must be interesting watching what is going to happen.
Yeah, and Veronica Stenberg, she was a world champion 2012 in Holland,
Exactly.
in Netherlands, and she have also played 3 other semifinals and finals for females trophy.
Great.
And Velma Fu, in fact, she's played the semifinal 2005.
She's from Hong Kong, if I remember well.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
True. And table 3 is Keisuke Fukuchi against Remita Stea, 2 very interesting youth players. Keisuke Fukuchi, we discussed him yesterday. He is a top-level player, only 10 years old, from Japan, rated number 19 in the world.
Do you believe he's going to be the Bobby Fischer, Othello?
Now, yeah. I'm not surprised if he's coming to semifinals, as Takanashi did last year. I mean, he's rated number 4 in the tournament and number 19 in the world.
I see.
So it shouldn't be a surprise. Remita Ste is
From France?
yes, and he's one of the best European players.
Oh, great.
So, and then in
He's the son of Mark Tastet.
yes,
Yes, the world champion of 1992.
92 it was, yeah.
Well, France has a great tradition.
Yes.
I think the second European player who was a world champion was from France. It was Paul Ral, if I remember well.
Yeah.
He was 16 in that age. I'm not sure, but you have to check. We have to check that. Okay, we will transmit information. I hope they are all will be valid.
Yeah. And we have two more games that you can see on YouTube. It is Table 4, Naoki Shimutsu against Imre Leader. One of the top Japanese player against one of the European top player. And in Table 5, also an European game, Roberto Sperandio, Italy against Karsten Fellborg, Denmark. Two very experienced players who have played almost for over 20 years both.
Great players. Ben, do you have a table, a game actually, between two players that you remember well? You have been to many world tournaments. What is the one that was the most appealing to you, that you liked the most?
Oh, which one of those I will follow?
No. You have been to many world tournaments.
Yeah.
How much actually?
Oh, 18.
Exactly. So you are. What was the one that impressed you the most?
Oh, I have been tournament director for 15 of them. I played 2 of them. So yeah, when I played 2001, 1 month after 9/11 in New York, that was special.
I see.
Because it was just 1 month after the big terror attack in New York. So everything was so different that time. So, but yeah.
So, well, I guess that between our spectators, there will be people who have also attended WOC tournaments. So what I'd like you to do is to tell us and recall memories of past WOCs and tell us which were the most appealing matches that you have seen in accordance to you. So we expect your comments on that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes, that's a good idea. Actually, I got this idea because in the morning I was hearing you discussing with Emmanuel Lazar.
Yeah.
But actually, you have a more interesting discussion.
Yeah.
He talked us about some unpublished memories and published history of Othello. You should write a book on that.
Then she could continue to be unpublished.
Well, yes, we should take an interview of him.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, do you hear us? I guess.
I wonder if we can get the view. Yeah, exactly. You see the players sitting there for the...
They are preparing, yes, this is the room.
So we will soon give the word to the commentators in the studio.
The stages for them, actually, they are the most adequate people to talk, so yes.
Yeah. So I think we are soon ready, and we hope you follow us here in YouTube /Othello. And this will be a long, fun day, and we will, in Studio Othello, we will give you some
Welcome to the tournament
interviews.
room. We are now live from the World Othello Championship 2018, and we're going to start the first round. I think all players are present, so you can start your clock, and I wish you good luck to all the players.
Again, what? Talk. Oh. Just keep talking as a test. We're live. We're live. Yes. Okay, well, welcome to the live games for the 2018 World Othello Championships in Prague. On the screen at the moment, we've got Milosz Cupial and Michele Borassi. With me in the studio, I've got an old friend, Jeff Hubbard, who I'm very excited to have with me because he's got his computer with him and he'll be able to check certain things through history of these two players and give you some information as we progress. So, Jeff, say hi.
Good morning. Hi, Guy.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
And
can we see the board again, please?
Please, can we see the board because we need to track the game as well. Thank you. Jeff, what's your initial thoughts of the opening? Psychologically, how the players are feeling at this moment? Do you think they're still in book? I reckon, but
yeah, I think this is an opening that they have both played before a lot, and now they're having to think about. There's a couple of move options here. The common move is E3, which is. We have the coordinates there on the board, the letters across the top and the numbers down the side. There we go.
Okay, so what is each player trying to do at this point?
Each player is trying to establish a good central position to try and ensure that they have a lot of good moves available later in the game to not get themselves into a bad position early that they will never be able to come back from. It's white to play again now.
So when you say good moves later in the game, what are they looking for? What do they think will be good moves later in the game?
That's a tricky question.
Then give a convoluted answer.
Yeah. Maybe we can just look at the position it is now rather than looking too far into the future.
In that case, remember that question, and when we get into those moves later in the game that are the good moves, maybe we can go back to this position and you can refer to it. Are we able to replicate the position on this board?
Yes, we...
When they start thinking. So they've started to think now. So basically what happens is the players prepare their openings. They know what they're going to play. The tree of potential moves expands very quickly. So whilst they're prepared, variations happen. And what you need to be careful of when you've prepared an opening is if someone varies it, you've got an idea of how the game's going to go, but there's a subtle difference. And you can sometimes carry along the same philosophy that you had right at the beginning with the opening you'd prepared, but with that subtle difference, if you keep going down the same route, it can have a big difference later on. And so what tends to happen is players will play an opening very confidently when they know exactly the position. But as they enter into the mid-game, even if they know the position, they will start to think to make sure that they're in that right mindset of actually analysing the position, not just playing moves that they've learned and practiced and prepared.
Yes, and it can also be that they've looked at this game and seen this position before in the past and may have once known what the move they wanted to do was, but now they've forgotten. Both of these players have been in this position before over the years.
How long ago?
Back from 2005, Borassi has played this both as black and as white. Milosz has also played it mostly as white.
That's a good observation in itself. So who's played it as black and white?
Michele Borassi has played it as black and as white.
Okay, which immediately says something. It means that he's kind of comfortable that it's a fairly even position and that he has a good idea of how to play it for both colours.
Yes, indeed.
Whereas Milosz has only played it as...
I only played it as white.
And is white in this game. So he has less confidence in this position as black.
Yes.
Or more confidence in other positions.
And if we note on the screen, the pictures of the players do not match the names of the players. They are...
the wrong way round.
The wrong way round, so...
So it's just the names that need to switch?
Or the pictures of the players?
Well, white's on that side. Could someone look into getting the names matched up with the pictures of the screen, on the screen, please? Thank you. Right, let's catch up on this board as well. So what we've got in the studio is we've got a computer which can give us some stats of the games between these players, and indeed games when they've played other people using the same openings and that kind of thing, that we will share with you as and when we feel it's relevant. We also have a board which we can track the game on, which we will be able to share on the screen with you. We will be doing this mainly so that we can share some of our thoughts without you having to look backwards or forwards in your head on the board that's on the screen. So the one that we're using will be superimposed on the real live streamed board, and often it will show the same position, and we'll say instead of going to D3, we will actually show you what it looks like after D3. We've got the names correct now.
And there's not been a move. Now there is a move.
I was thinking that Michele had his hair cut rather short. I didn't recognise him, and that's why.
Right, and the move we just had was E8, F8. I just need to get myself caught up here.
And of course, the first round is one that all of the top players want to win. It is possible to go on a really good run after losing the first round, possibly even the first two rounds. But nevertheless, it's good to get off to a good start, largely for psychological reasons. You, as any athlete has, it's possible to have good days and bad days, and you want to feel that you're having a good day, and it gives you extra confidence to have confidence in your moves rather than back out of moves that normally you would know are good. And Jeff is just trying to catch up on the board, so we'll be able to show you a few things.
Yes, and trying to keep several boards in sync here. I see that black has taken an unbalanced edge in the bottom there. You want to explain unbalanced edge?
Yeah, sure. So, in general, it's very, very clear that corners are good because they can never be flipped. One way of never giving away a corner is never playing next to a corner. Black, Milosz has taken an edge along the bottom, which sticks out into the corner. So if white at some point manages to get in on the left-hand bottom edge in A8 or B8, then he will be able to take H8 on the next move. Now, it's unbalanced in the sense that it's only sticking out at one side. If B8 was also black, it would be a balanced edge, and it's a lot harder for white to get in without getting the corner. With the unbalanced edge, it's possible for white to sacrifice the bottom left corner, A8, and then sneak in the B8 move, which can't be flipped because it's wedged between A8 and C8. And then is safe to take the h8 corner and all of the bottom edge. Personally, I don't think that this is a bad, unbalanced edge. I think he is more likely to be able to balance it. Black is more likely to be able to play b8 than white is to sacrifice against it. It's a matter of timing and doing it at the right time, but I don't think, as the board stands, white can do too much with that unbalanced edge. But of course, Michele will be looking at ways in which possibly he could make it an edge which he can sacrifice against. But I think he's going to find it difficult to stop Milosz cutting the diagonal of pieces, which is f4 down to c7 at some point in a nice way that just gives him the balancing move on the bottom edge, b8.
Yes, and that also gives a kind of focus of what kind of moves black and white are going to be looking for. Black will perhaps be interested in making sure there is a black piece on that diagonal that you just mentioned, and white will be interested in making sure that it stays completely white. So we can see how that goes. One of the things that's useful in Othello is to have as many moves as possible available for yourself.
Right. So the way I always think of that is the person who has more choice of moves has more choice of how the game goes. They have more control. And that is the big strategy. Not just in Othello, but any two-player strategy game. You try to maximize your options, minimize your opponent's options, and in doing so, get into a position where you can control the game and you dictate the direction of play. And one way of doing that in Othello is to minimize your opponent's options by taking edges, because obviously edges can only be flipped in certain directions, so it gives less choice. The danger is that by taking edges, you can often have pieces which get in the way of what we would otherwise call quiet moves. And by quiet moves, we mean moves which don't increase your opponent's options too much at any given time. So maybe by flipping only one piece, and that piece being on the inside of all of the pieces that have already been played. It's a very quiet move. It doesn't give your opponent any more options. And that's kind of what you're looking for in the early game and the early mid-game, so that you can control the game later on.
So here, for example, f3 would be a quiet move for white.
Yeah, because the two pieces that are flipped are totally surrounded, and don't give black any more moves. And we can notice now that the e5 disc has been flipped, which gives black access to the balancing move, b8 on the edge, and white still, because there's only other white pieces around there, white can't do anything with that edge at the moment.
I noticed that the names have been switched, but I believe the colours are now wrong.
You are correct.
I don't know if it's possible to change the black piece in player indicator and the white piece player indicator. We'll see what happens. So, these two players have not played this particular game before, down to this depth. We're currently at move 21.
Who varied it?
I believe Milosz varied it when he played to f8. Now that was several moves ago.
Okay, yeah. So to the van, is it possible to switch the disc indicator colour so that Michele, so the name and the image are correct, but Michele is actually playing black, not white. So if we could get that corrected, that'd be great as well. The other thing about this black edge on the bottom is that if Michele chooses to do so, he can extract the D7 and the E7 moves, discs. And if he extracts the D7 and the E7 discs and then takes the balanced edge, it's what we call a 6-on-4, meaning that the edge is 6 discs, and the next row in, the 7 row, is 4 discs. And this can lead to unusual moves in the end game because it makes it very difficult to sacrifice against that edge. So on this board, if black takes these two pieces on D7 and E7, then when he takes the edge, we have 6 along the bottom and 4, and it just makes it very, very difficult. It's really pulling black really pulling white into the corner and saying you're not even going to be able to take the corner in a decent way, or
And just a reminder, if you want to send us questions or comments, we have YouTube streaming, and in the chat box we have Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
And we've got a whole team in the other room who will pick those up and forward them on to us. So we'll be able to answer questions, give our thoughts as best we're able, and share your thoughts. So Jeff, if you were to sit down at this board now, who would you rather be?
I would rather be black in this situation, I think.
Yeah.
That edge along the south, we tend to describe positions using compass directions, the north being the top of the board on the screen here, which is currently quite empty. The south, which has a black line along the bottom, and that edge that has been taken. The east, which is on the right-hand side of the screen, and the west, which is on the left-hand side of the screen. And you'll note that Milosz played G5 as his last move, removing black access on that F4 to C7 diagonal. It's probably still a good idea, I think, to try and keep black off that, but black has a good move to B4.
Yeah.
Which currently
can't get flipped back. So on the other board, the digital board, could we just show the digital board quickly, please? Please, thank you. How do you go backwards on this? So if black plays here, then what Jeff was just saying was the D6 disc gets flipped, and that gives access to here, and white can do nothing about it. It's not necessarily a good move, because what we were talking about, quiet moves before, if black does do B4, then white has a very quiet move to B6, which has its merits because it only flips internal discs should white play there. But it's certainly a strategic swap if he chooses to do something like that. So, I mean, white is trying to keep black off that mini diagonal to stop him taking B8 and balancing the edge. I just can't see it. It's a long way to go, and it's going to happen.
Yes, I think there's not much that can be done about that, keeping him off it. White needs to try and make sure that when he does get there, it causes the least damage. Black is in no hurry. This is a shot of the tournament playing area. All the tables.
You can see the camera setups if you look up carefully. The board on the stage, which is where the final will be played, is board 1, and you can see that there's a framework over the top where we've got the camera coming down directly onto the board, 2 cameras placed at the players, so we can make up the image that you see on the screen when you're watching. But you will also see that there's different levels of boards. In terms of playing venue, this is a very well lit. This is almost ideal playing conditions. It gives a lot of space to each player, and it's very well lit. So the concentration can be totally on the board. I was a bit surprised at E2 there. I wasn't looking at any other options, but F3 seems to be. Again, it's a perfectly quiet move. It places 1 disc. The disc that's flipped is totally surrounded. Why would Black play E2 there?
All the other options, White cannot currently play down in the southwest region, and White cannot play in the east region. And by playing to the north, we have a reply.
Right.
It forces White to make more moves up into that area where Black.
Can we go back to the digital board just quickly here, actually, because I think Milosz just answered my question for me. So if we go back 1 move. So Black has just played E2, flipping E3. And my initial reaction, without looking too deeply, was that F3 is now a good move because it just flips 1 piece internally. However, sorry, I will do it again. If White does that, then Black actually has the B4 move without Black having access to B6. Now, White cannot play B6, which was one of the reasons that we said that B4 may not be a good move immediately. And then White has to start taking those pieces in the northwest of the board. So instead of that, is this the backwards? So instead of doing that, Milosz took F2, and that means that if Black now plays B4, White still has his access to B6 and still has the F3 move as well. So there's a little bit of a battle going on between keeping the quiet moves unavailable. If we go back to the board, it looks like a move's just been played.
I, in fact, had 2 moves. There was a move to G4 and then the reply to F3.
Right. And another concept that we use a lot is parity. And at the beginning of the game, you are aware of it, but it's not as important. At the end of the game, it's very important. And parity is essentially getting the last move in each region. So the ultimate parity goes to White in a normal game because Black starts with move 1 and White finishes with move 60. Now, when White plays the last move, he obviously gets discs that can never be flipped back. And this is quite powerful because if there's only even regions left on the board at the end of the game, Black always has to play first into them, White always gets to play last and gets to save a lot of pieces. And this is why I would probably say that Black is more likely to take an edge to try and dictate some strategic advantage near the end of the game. But as the game goes on, if it's an even position, you would start to favour white.
Yes, and in this position we can see that white is getting a good mass of discs in the centre, and black is kind of being pushed to the outside. Black's last move to g3 has given him access on that diagonal that we've been talking about through the game.
The diagonal that leads down to b8
Yes.
allows him to balance the edge.
Oh. Yes, this diagonal here. But we have some interesting to look at the moves that black does not have. The squares that black does not have access to.
Are the ones he'd like to play.
Yeah. D2 looks like a good move, but he has no access there. So
And not only that, but if white does go there, at the moment, I mean, it's not white's move, it's black's move, but if white were to play there now, black also doesn't have access to c2.
yes.
So that could be a decent move at some point, if depending on how the west region plays out. If white can keep hold of this diagonal and this diagonal, then d2 becomes a very powerful move at some point.
Looks like we have a move on the main board. And it was b8.
So balancing the bottom edge.
And now we're going to need to find something else to talk about.
Well, yes, but we can actually look at this position and say you can see why it was a good move, because when we talk about not giving your opponent any other options, the only move that white gets from black playing that is the x square, b7. So by x square we mean the 4 squares that are diagonally in from the corners. So you've got the black dots on the board, and it's the square that is diagonally between the black dot and the corners. I think we've got someone's head intruding on the board there as well. That'll be it. That'll be Milosz. But yeah, so these are the x squares highlighted here, and
These are all bad moves and moves that white does not want to play.
you do sometimes get to play good x squares where you can give away the corner but get more back from doing so, and we'll get the chance to show you something like that at this point, but at some point. But the issue was that by playing here, the only piece that was on the outside that got flipped was this one, and the only move that became available was that one. And that is a bad move because black, with his balanced edge, will take the corner and save the whole edge and have a corner to build on. So b8 was always going to be a good move when it happened. And that's why we were talking about it so much in the lead up to that position. The other thing that b8 does is it takes this piece, which we were talking about how black didn't have access to d2. It now gives him access to d2, which, as we said before, is a good move. And again, it only flips one piece internally, so builds up control. A couple of moves ago, I was thinking that white was starting to look like he was in a stronger position, but what we thought slightly earlier about black having getting onto the b8 move and playing it. It's looking difficult for white again.
So we have a move to h5.
I think I'd have played d2 there. One to stop black playing it. So on the digital board, could we just cut to the digital board, please?
We have a digital board that we use to show you games, show you positions.
Here we go.
Here it is.
So this move here stops black doing it. It's what we were saying before. When playing b8, black managed to get f4, and that f4 disc allows a move to d2, flipping only e3, which is incredibly quiet. It's a very, very good move for black, and I think that I would have played d2 to stop him doing it. But I think that Milosz was probably worried that Michele would take h8, so he took a move on that edge to stop that. But I'd be surprised if Michele doesn't now take the d2 move instead. Okay, so back to what you want to?
No, back to the main board.
Back to the camera. We'll try and keep on the camera as much as possible, but obviously, where we feel that it's easier to describe something using the digital board, we will flip to that. And Michele has taken the d2 move.
What do you think about a white move to h4 here? It's kind of looking at white's moves.
I think
there are a lot of moves that look like they could be bad.
Yeah,
h4 is the least bad.
Yes, when we were talking about parity earlier. The one thing white doesn't want to do generally through the game, there can be reasons to do it, but as a general rule, white wouldn't want to create an odd region where white can't play. Because if he does that, the rest of the board becomes a big parity region for black. So the advantage that white has naturally in the game, as being the second playing player, of parity and getting the last move in each region, he can give that up by creating an odd region where he can't play, leaving odd regions elsewhere in the board. And if white plays h4, it leaves a region of 6. Okay, I was looking at d1 as well as the only other option that he had that didn't flip all of the outside pieces. And the reason that that one's okay is because the d3 to f5 diagonal is all white. So the natural response for black of c2 is not available. The risky thing about it is black can play c1, and then white has to make a very difficult decision about whether to take the top edge or allow black to take back the back edge. Black, if white takes the edge along the top, he needs to take it at b1. If black plays c1, then white can play b1, and it's a very unbalanced edge with lots of sacrificial opportunities in the top right for black. But if he allows black to take it back, black has had 2 moves and has a balanced edge of 4. Would have a balanced edge of 4, not sticking into either corner. So both of those, that would be a really difficult decision to have to make. But I'm sure that he already thought about that when he played D1. So I'm interested to see whether Michele gives him that option and that decision to make. Could we actually have a quick look at some of the other camera boards as well, keeping an eye on this one, that if there's a move, we can come back to it immediately.
I think we're streaming 4 other boards on YouTube. There's a YouTube live channel for each of them, which will be showing the top-down view of the board and hopefully the clock and the players' names. We're commentating on this main board, table 1, but you at home can have a look at the other boards and follow along with them without the exciting commentary.
But if we are able to cut to camera 2 or board 2, just to have a quick look at how that's progressing, it would be good. But we'll see if we do or not. Time-wise, 9 minutes 46 left for Milosz.
Yeah, the clock at the top of the screen shows how many minutes and seconds the players have left as a move. Each player starts with 30 minutes, and they must make all their moves in the game in those 30 minutes. But they can think as long as they like on each particular move, and when they've made their move, they press the clock once they finish flipping with the same hand that they used to place the disc and flip the discs.
And how do you manage your time in a tournament game?
I try to have 1 minute per move, and it's good with 30-minute games because you are expected to have about 30 moves, so you can try and keep track of how many pieces you have left in front of you and how many minutes you have in the clock, and make sure those numbers are the same.
Yeah, I used to lose on time a lot.
Yeah, so
and then Imre, I can't remember, Imre leader one year in the World Championships, I lost on time and he called me an idiot. And it was in a nice way, but he said you should never lose on time. And I've heeded that advice, and I lose on time a lot less than I used to now.
It's certainly the easiest way to lose a game is on time.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You just have to sit there and do nothing, and you will
make your opponent at least take the penalty.
Yeah. But we've had a couple of moves there.
So now, naturally, like at first glance, I would want to take the wedge. So that is take H4, having the 2 white pieces on the H column, white pieces wedged between 2 black pieces, which generally gives you options to sacrifice either the top or the bottom corner, and then you cannot lose access to the final move in those regions. Why would Milosz be looking at anything else in this position? What else is he looking at?
Maybe H7.
Okay, and what would be the advantages and disadvantages of H7?
By taking H7, it creates a kind of the unbalanced 3 there. If black then attacks the corner with H4, white is basically forced to take H2, but then it becomes black's move again.
And white gets a balanced edge rather than an unbalanced edge, and it keeps an even region in the top.
Yeah,
So one of the disadvantages of the wedge would be that the only good move, or the only possible move for white into the top corner would be h2, which would be catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an odd region, so he'll want to play there at some point.
Yes.
I mean, as white, wanting to keep parity. Oh. We'll come back to the digital board. Let's keep track of what's actually happening. Yeah, so he's taken the wedge. So, he's taken the wedge, which I said was the first move that I would look at. The disadvantage is that now there's an odd region in the top right-hand corner. White wants to play into odd regions first, so that he gets the last move in those regions. But the only move he now has in that odd region is h2. But if he plays h2, then black can take h1, and it still leaves an odd region, which white can't play into. So black can, and Michele Borassi is actually superb at playing out parity on the whole board. He will sacrifice a lot to get parity in the rest of the board and win a game by a few discs using that strategy.
Yeah, he's a very strong endgame player.
And he's preparing his endgame from the mid-game. It's not just that he reads it very well at the end. He's preparing what plays out well in the endgame. I'm right in thinking Michele is a world champion, isn't he?
He is,
Two
yes.
times?
I believe so. He won in 2008, World Championship. He came runner-up in 2010.
We were just catching up on the digital board there, just to make sure that we didn't lose track of where we were. Yep, and that's a good match. That's a good match, which is handy. So now it's white's move in this position, and I think at some point he's going to have to sacrifice the bottom right edge, because all of the moves in the top left are bad. Black's still got c1 to come if white doesn't play it. If white does play it, he takes all the pieces and loses all other moves over there. So at some point soon, he will play g7. The idea being that it's an odd region. If black takes the corner and saves the bottom edge, then white takes h7 and takes the wedge on the right-hand side. So at some point, white will play here. If black takes the corner, white will take the wedge, and then it's black's move. Black still has, it looks very promising for black now.
A lot of good moves there.
Yeah, so black still has good moves, but the idea is that by playing out a 3 region, at least, if I take that back, at least white doesn't just have to make one of the moves over here, which it's just yeah. I'm struggling to see anything promising for white now. Would you agree? I mean, what do you think is the most promising for white in this position? I think he's lost parity in the top right.
Yeah.
And doesn't have the best moves.
Yeah, I'd be Although it looks like we have had a move on the board. Can we go back to the real board, please?
Okay. So C1 was a very good move for black. And white has decided to play it so that black cannot play it. And he's cut himself off from the whole of the top left of the board to do that. He's saved the bottom right 3 as an extra tempo, and I'll just describe what a tempo is. A tempo is a move that you can play. When black played b8 earlier in the game, it was a tempo because it didn't really give white anything, and it played an extra move. So then white has to play, when black took that bottom edge, white had to play elsewhere and effectively taking 2 moves in another part of the board. And obviously taking 2 moves reduces your options quite a lot because you're taking the pieces that would have been options otherwise. So the bottom right can become a tempo for white because it's 3 spaces. And if white sacrifices there by playing G7, black takes the corner, white takes H7, then it's black's move again. So what Milosz is trying to do here is, 1, take away the excellent black move, and force black to play over the black's got total choice of where he plays, but if he plays anywhere, then it gives white moves, and white needs moves. If white doesn't get a move, white is going to die horribly.
Yes, and it is all in black's control now. Black basically chooses from where he plays the moves that opens up for white. Will be white's only good moves. Right,
so black will choose where white plays. White plays those moves just to survive and hopes that as the endgame approaches, something opens up.
Yeah. And Borassi is sitting and thinking and trying to work out how to get the most discs out of the situation.
So you think he's thinking now, I've won?
I don't think he's sure that he's won, but he's
feeling confident.
He's looking ahead to the end of the game at this point.
And you think he's thinking about discounts rather than ensuring a win now?
Not exact discounts yet, I would think.
But you did say he's looking to see how he can maximise his discs.
Yes, and that's looking at which edges he might be going to get and which interior rows and columns. Looking to see perhaps if he's going to keep the south edge, keeping that black, and then will he also get the G column to be black?
Right.
This is the sort of thing that the computers are really good at because they can easily see ahead and calculate all the positions. But us poor humans need to still use some heuristics and try and work out what's happening. And we have a move to B6.
And what we were saying about this dictates where white plays. White really can only play A6 or B4 from that move. The more natural one is probably B4 because it's a quiet move, the pieces are flipped internally. But if he does play that, then could we go? Oh no, he has played that.
I expect A5 for black now.
Yeah. So I think that Michele is thinking about that top right region being a parity region. And so therefore he's creating even regions elsewhere where now he will get the last move, and then white will have to unwedge on the top right, and black will get a stack load of discs up there.
There's an interesting thing that happens now after A4. If white plays A4, black plays B6, and then white has no access to B3 since all the discs on that diagonal are black.
Can we just show that on the digital board, please? Thank you. So what you said was, if white plays A4,
black to A6. White now has no access to this square.
right, which is the one that he'd want to play.
Yeah. If we go back to the main board again.
It looks like a move's been played. And he's playing out the bottom right region.
Yes, and that gives him a disc at F7. Which means that after that sequence we just showed, B3 is now would then be a possible move for white.
Right. But he's starting to give up discs now. So if black takes the corner, the whole of the bottom edge is saved forever. And G2 would also then become a big move a bit later in the game, assuming that the top right region, assuming that the rest of the board is working out, it's a big move in the end game.
Yeah, but black also does not need to take the corner straight away.
He's not going to lose access.
And he is not. So now we have moves on the east edge, H2 and H7, which are really bad for white. He's also getting very low on time. He's only
1 minute 39:38 left. I might have thought about taking the X square there, bottom left X square. Just try and get a tempo in the corner.
Yeah.
But we're getting to the point in the game where the moves are likely to start coming a bit more quickly now, because they'll be looking towards the end of the game, and so we won't cut to the digital board anymore. We won't cut to the digital board anymore because we will miss a move that gets played on the real board if we do. Just for your information as well, both players will be it's keeping a track of the moves, making an annotation of the game as they're playing. After every round, every player gives in the annotation that they have made. And we have a backroom team here who are phenomenally good, and a team out there. Feel free to help, find out by asking on YouTube or whatever, but we will record all of the games so you can go and look at any of them afterwards. Sorry, what's just happened here, that one?
Yes. Last move was black to A6.
Okay, and so white is... I think this game is over, actually.
It's looking very good for black, yes.
White is doing what he can to get the last move in each of the regions. So he got the last move, H7 in the bottom right region. He got the last move, B7 in the bottom left region, but he's having to give up a lot of discs to do so, and still has the problem of the top right being an odd region that he's going to play into first, but not in a nice way.
And we're going to be interviewing these two players after the game. Once this game is finished, we'll take a short break, and then they'll join us here in the Othello commentary room.
And this is what I meant when I said that the top right region became parity for black. Black managed to get the last move in the top left region. White has unwedged his two wedgie pieces on the right-hand side, and now black will be able to take, if you imagine black taking h1, then it leaves an odd region which white cannot play into, so white will pass, black will play black, white, black in some order and get the last move up there with a lot of pieces as well. What he's looking at here and why he's pointing at the board, he's actually counting the final score, deciding whether h1 is better than g1, which also does the same but in a slightly more complicated way.
Again, there's that G column I was talking about earlier is now all black. And there we go. The 48 black, 16 to white. And Michele Borassi wins.
Good start for him. And it was a relatively comfortable win as well.
Yes.
So the other thing about tournament Othello is, depending on the style of player you are, it can get very tiring playing 13 rounds over 2 days. And you can find that your mind is not as focused towards the end. So what you would like to do is get some comfortable wins where you're not thinking too hard and you can save some energy for more taxing games. The good thing for Michele is that was potentially a taxing game, potentially, but it didn't work out that way. I think he was actually quite comfortable in the end. So conserving energy in a game that could have gone in a difficult direction is a good thing to happen in a tournament. Would it be possible to look at some of the other cameras? Well, 2 of the games seem to have finished there. What results have we got?
Yeah, this is an overview of the tournament room. We can see there's still a couple of tables there in progress. This is Velma Fu versus Veronica Sternberg.
Okay, and we have our 2 competitors from the game that... Turn your mics on.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So we have with us here, well, introduce yourselves.
I'm Milosz, Cupial from Poland.
I'm Michele from Switzerland. Borrowed, actually, because I'm Italian.
Okay, so welcome. We were watching your game there live on the screen, and we were commenting as we were going through. We felt that most of the game, black was more comfortable. Would you agree with that? Because we know that in the heat of the tournament,
yes, completely,
you're more focused, and as an observer, it's easy to kind of say, well, we think black's winning in this position. But so, first of all, Michele, did you feel comfortable throughout the game?
Yes, I have to say. I mean, in the World Championships, especially with a good player like Milosz, it's always hard to tell, oh, I won.
Yes.
So I was really afraid to be too overconfident, so I tried to calm down and play the best throughout the whole game.
We were commenting that on the board, I don't know which way you were looking at it, but there was an unbalanced black edge, but white didn't have a sacrifice against it.
Well, yeah, I lost parity, and that was the main point of Michele playing that, because I know Michele knows this opening much more than me, probably, because I was playing it for the first time in my life, really. I never tried this option, so...
9th time. You played 8 games on that opening.
No, on this query line, I never do that before. Really?
There are
Interesting.
8
yeah.
games
We
in the
had
database.
we had the
And since
database
I
up.
saw that you were messing up at the first moves, that's
Because
why
I didn't
showed
feel
it.
comfortable. But mid-game, there were still chances, but Michele was completely controlling the game, and for sure was a deserved win.
Okay.
Fully.
Well, no, we were actually watching the database of games between you
Okay.
and with this opening. And Michele, you play that opening black and white.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not
sometimes
all
I
the
also
time.
played it as white.
So it's obviously something that you've looked at and you're quite comfortable with as a position. You know what's going on.
Yeah, something I looked yesterday at 10 in my bed. But
But Milosz, you played it only as white and often against Michele.
Really?
So,
That shows how much she's better prepared for the Othello Championship
Sure.
than me.
And when you say you lost parity, the way we were looking at it, it was the top right-hand corner.
Yes.
And you had the wedge, which your only move into that corner was to unwedge.
Yes.
And so the rest of the board became parity for Michele. And I would say, having watched some of your games over the last few years, Michele, that's something that you are very strong at. Creating a position where you can play out the rest of the board with parity. And you're willing to sacrifice quite a lot. You didn't need to sacrifice quite a lot in this case. But is that something that you try to aim for during the game?
well, yeah, many times in the end of the mid game, I start to think, why am I winning this game? So usually just filling the board is not enough.
Mhm.
So you have to find really a way to win. And closing parity and sacrificing everything else is usually a way in which there are few options for your opponent.
Yeah.
So it's quite, I find it quite easy. So I'm also willing to lose a couple of discs so that the position is much easier to analyze, because he has just one option every time, and
Yeah.
so it's easy to go deep.
Yeah, I was thinking he will open on the other side, so we'll move a little bit around, but it was hard. He was well
Yes.
prepared, so deserved win completely. I was worse a player. But
Okay. Well, we'll let you go because there's not too long between
Yeah.
different rounds.
Okay.
And, you might want to drink or pee or something. So thank you for
Thanks.
joining us.
Thanks a lot.
And
Thank you
good,
very
good luck
much.
for the rest of the tournament.
Thanks very
Thanks.
much.
Fun
Have
game,
fun
thank
here.
you.
Over.
And we'll take a short break and be back at whatever the scheduled time is for the next round.
So yep, we'll see you for round 2.
Get ready for Othello, the ultimate game of strategy and skill. Go head to head in a battle of wits. Think quick, trap their discs, and claim the row. Hold your nerve, take a chance, and turn the game around. A minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Othello from Ideal.
Othello, a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Now launched in India by Fun School.
Get ready for Othello, the ultimate game of strategy and skill. Go head-to-head in a battle of wits. Think quick, trap their discs, and claim the row. Hold your nerve, take a chance, and turn the game around. A minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Othello from Ideal.
Othello, a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Now launched in India by Fun School.
Can you see that? Your eyes good enough. Hello and welcome to round 2 of the 2018 World Othello Championships live from Prague. We've got Christina joining us this round, so welcome Christina.
Nice to find you, nice to be here with you.
Good, good. And we've got a list of the boards that we'll be covering on the cameras. And we've got a full list of the games that are happening. We've got a full list of the results, and we'll be talking about all of those things as the programme progresses. Jeff, do you want to just run through the games that we've got on the top boards?
Yes. On table 1, we have Piyanat Aunchulee from Thailand against Henrik Jensen. Oh, and they're already off. We will get caught up with this game, and then while they're thinking, we will update you on the rest.
Well, Piyanat is rated number 1 in Thailand, number 12 in Asia, and number 12 also in the world, according to the rating list of Othello, of World Othello Federation.
Right, and he was also the 2016 world champion. Mm-hmm. He's known, one of his main strengths that he's known for is his opening preparation. Mm-hmm. Eric is a statesman of the game. He's been around pretty much since the beginning of competitive Othello, so he has a lot of experience. He's been Danish champion, and it would be an upset if he beat Piyanat, but it's certainly not out of the question. The other thing that Piyanat does, his opening preparation is very strong, and he's also prepared about how games progress from the openings that he has prepared. So what you'll find is where other people will be down to 10 minutes on their clock, he will still be on 18 or 19. He plays very quickly because he knows what's going on when other people have to read what's going on. So if he's thinking for a long time, it's a good indication that he feels that he's not in a good position.
Well, at present, he plays quite quickly.
Yeah.
I see.
He's still in book here.
Exactly.
And the difficulty is sometimes if you're playing someone who knows a position or who plays quickly naturally, you can get drawn into playing quickly. yourself and not thinking things through. You think, oh, this is a position that I should know, and this looks like the right move, so I'm going to play it. And you really have to rein yourself in and step back and think to yourself, actually, I don't know this position, even if they do, and I need to think slowly and carefully about this. But I mean, Piyanat's move onto the bottom edge, the E8 move there, is not a natural move, leaving it's an odd edge shape on the bottom. The speed with which he played it, he's obviously looked at it, and I can imagine that not many players would learn this position this deep and also be willing to play a move like that without knowing what's going to happen about it afterwards, even if you don't know the details, the exact moves. Knowing that that edge position is going to play out in certain ways informs Piyanat about the rest of the game, even at this early stage. And I wouldn't like to say what I think is going to happen with that edge, for example.
There was a question before regarding the effective way of someone to get prepared. So you are the experts. So could you tell us, please, a way a novice player can prepare an opening, can learn an opening, and what openings would be the most easy to learn, maybe, to prepare for tournaments?
Right.
Or how someone should think on that. They want tips, our audience want tips, so maybe we should give them something.
Yeah, sure. For me, openings, I would say that there's different ways you can look at openings. One is use a computer, which will generally be able to give you some good feedback on whether moves are good or not. What they can't do is tell you why they're good. So you can learn openings and you can get into good positions, but if you don't know why it's a good opening and what's going to happen in the rest of the game, it's not that helpful because it could get you into a very tricky position. Another way is just looking at other players' games and seeing the openings that they play regularly and seeing how their games pan out in general gives you an idea of that balance between knowing an opening and it informing the rest of the game and how it's actually going to work out. But what you probably want to do in the early stages of bothering to learning openings is learn that it's not crucial. I think we put a lot of emphasis on openings when top players are playing top players, but that's because all else is equal and because there's you want to be in a position where you know the position better than your opponent and that kind of thing. But Ben Seeley, I was talking to about this, and he was saying the first time he won the World Championships, he knew lots of openings very deep. He'd done lots of preparation. The second time he won, a year later, he decided to find openings which computers found to be negative, not good openings, but not by that much. And he found those openings and he said, if I play this, my opponent probably hasn't prepared for it because it's a negative opening. But it's only slightly negative, and I believe in my ability to overturn those discs difference. So the openings aren't as crucial as you think. You need to learn not to die in the opening. But if you learn not to die, then there's more important things to learn.
Then you will be good in the mid game as well.
In the
middle game. After the opening, yes.
Yes.
Because, well, when an opening stops, how would you define that?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? So in the case of Piyanat, it's a long way into the game. His mid-game is informed really heavily by his opening. For most players, they try to get into a good position and then start thinking about the mid-game, depending on what their opponent has done. I wouldn't say there is a very strict definition of when the opening ends and the mid-game starts. but if I was to put a blunt definition on it, it's to do with how far you've prepared. The moves that you know you're going to play before thinking. What would you say, Jeff?
Yes, I think openings are overrated to just learn an opening. An opening is more a way of describing easily the way the game has gone. So you can give an idea to another player. I played a Tiger opening. They have some idea of saying what the first 4 or 5 moves are without having to worry about saying I played F5 and then D6 and then C4. Just play a lot of games and you will find that some moves you like more than others and keep playing those, and some moves you don't like and don't play those, and see how you end up. Yeah, and we might want to go back to the board because I think some moves have been played since. Oh, you're on top of it as well. Fantastic. 2 people on top of it. Okay. The other thing about openings is there are ones which don't give your opponent too many good moves. The advantage of that is you can guarantee that you yourself will get into a reasonable early mid-game. The disadvantage is that your opponent doesn't have to think even if they don't know the opening. You're giving them obvious moves. But that's quite good if you're playing someone stronger than you, because if you can do an unusual opening that they don't know but is not that bad.
They will be out of book.
Yeah, you get into an early mid-game and you know you're still okay. You don't die in the opening.
So try to survive in the opening. This is our advice.
Well, yeah.
Matt?
Yeah. If you don't die in the opening, you can win the game. You might have a harder position, but I mean that should be the first step. Once you don't die in the opening most of the time, then you can step it up and start asking yourself the question, now I'm not dying in the opening, what can I do to get into a position where I get into a mid-game that I'm comfortable playing? And we all play differently. Watching Piyanat is very different to the last game that we watched. And so it's interesting, but this was something else that Ben said in the interview yesterday, that it's actually surprising how the top players actually have different styles. He thought maybe we'd all converge on the best human style, but it's not true. Different players have different playing styles. And so finding what you are comfortable with in the mid-game should inform your openings. So what's happening on the board anyway? Yes, they've played quite deep into the opening. We've had some technical troubles with the names, but I think now the names and the colours and the pictures match. The disc indicators at the top next to the clocks are still not quite right, but the names of the players are right. And so, now we can have a look at the game. So actually, who is everything correct here, or is I haven't been watching? No, it is now correct. Okay. Piyanat Aunchulee is black, and Henrik Jensen is white. We've got a similar position on the right-hand side that we had in our last featured game, where we've got the unbalanced 5-edge, but for white down the right-hand side. But black can't sacrifice against it. So white, assuming he keeps access on the G3 to C7 diagonal, will get a tempo at H2 at some point, in the same way that black did.
Actually, I'm watching the analysis on WebZebra.
Okay.
I should not.
Well, feel free to do that, but we shouldn't actually.
Okay, I'm not going to give the clue.
No.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that we can now see how that bottom edge has panned out. I mentioned that it was an interesting shape earlier, and they've shared the edge with white taking the wedge on the inside, which in general, on those edges, I'd prefer to be on the inside than the outside. But black is the one with the sacrifice in the bottom right corner, should he choose to play it. It's an odd region. It would go black, white, black. Black in the X squared G7. White take the corner. Black G8. White to move again. So if white made that sacrifice, black would also have the move to H2 to take the edge. So it's only really a white sacrifice at the moment.
Yeah, it is
a black sacrifice at the moment.
But it is still a possible option for white if things go that way later on. So I don't think we'll see either player playing in that region until much later on in the game.
But we talk about in terms of maximising your options. It's an option. It is an option.
Yes.
For black at the moment. It's not really an option for white at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So what options does white have here? There we go.
A6 is an option.
A6, I think it's.
B6, sorry.
It was quite surprising, I think.
And why do you think that?
Well, actually, if I were in that position, I would play C2 probably, because of the shape. There was a wall of black discs on the bottom left. So now he has turned both C6. C7, yes, and C6, and I think that he creates a good move to later on at C5. But okay, I'm not sure if this is a good position also for black. But wait, what we have seen now?
Yes.
Exactly.
C5.
That.
Is that?
Yeah, that was I was telling.
So you were thinking that
it wasn't a good
B6
move.
allows
Yes.
A5.
I was in. That's surprising.
But yeah, I can't remember the position now. These two are playing fairly quickly compared to the last game. When we were this many moves through in the last game, we were looking around about 12 minutes, I think. These two are still, just above 20. Piyanat on 23 minutes. As we said, he doesn't hang around. I don't believe I've ever seen him lose on time.
No,
I don't think I've ever seen him get into the last 5 minutes. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but
well, I guess a novice player would see the center of the board and probably would do something like such as A5 to break up that the control of the center. But I'm not sure if this would be good. What do you think?
Sorry, A5?
Yes.
So what you're saying is if white plays A5...
Yeah, he just separates the board and he takes him... But I'm not sure if this is quite good.
Yeah, I don't think A5 is that good at the moment because... can we stay on the board? Sorry. Thank you. Mm-hmm. If white plays A5, it gives a very, very natural quiet move of B4 to black. Right. And that pair, I don't think... I think that you're right in thinking that white needs to be slightly careful that black doesn't get into a position where he can grab a diagonal without white being able to cut it.
Yes, because he takes control also of E5 and then white can play later on the H2. Now, white cannot play that.
But, so another way of white not losing total control of the centre is to sacrifice now. So the B7 move. Possibly giving away the A8 corner, but being able to take a wedge and then being able to sacrifice the other side, the bottom right corner as well. because all of the 7 row are black, it's a safe sacrifice in some sense that if white does sacrifice at b7 and black takes the corner, then white can take b8 at his leisure. He doesn't have to do it immediately. When he does, he cuts across some of the centre of the board again. So b7 isn't a bad move here. But I think you're right. What you're saying is if you go to a5...
Yes, he regains control of...
He gets some of the centre.
h2.
You then ask yourself the question, what does white do after b4?
Yeah,
so
that's the problem.
The thinking's good, and if you can answer that question, then you can decide whether a5 is a good move or not.
So after b4 it could be...
It does give him... Okay, so, right. So looking ahead, if white does play a5 and black plays b4, there's 2 things going on. A natural move for black a bit later would be a4, but if he plays that and white takes a3, he doesn't flip diagonally, which means that he's getting quite a nice edge on the left without giving white any more moves. But the other thing is, so if white a5, he flips e5, which gives him access to his tempo h2. So that doesn't give black any more moves. So that exchange is possibly quite good because a5, b4, h2 leaves black still having to play.
Okay, we have b3.
Which is a good move because it only flips. It's pulling black towards the top. It's saying, come and play.
Yes, it's
up
a
here.
bright move.
Jeff, who do you think's winning?
I would perhaps rather be black here. Is it black to move? Yes.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get our iPad caught up with the game so that we can look at some positions, but we're not quite there yet. Yeah, we've still got a couple of moves to do. Can we go back to the main board? Thank you.
I mean, I think your hesitation says it's very tight.
Yes.
But there are 2 good moves, I think.
For black.
For black, yes.
And so one which we should come to expect and say is f2.
Yes, this is the one that I was thinking, but I'm not sure if also a6 is quite good as well. But
Yes.
f2, I think it's the obvious one.
The interesting thing about this position, I think, now is that black is controlling that diagonal between g3 and c7, which means that white cannot play to h2.
And I was wondering whether a5 might be a decent move for black as well, because the natural move would be b4, but then a4 doesn't leave access to a3. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I actually had quite a lot of options there, didn't he? But with black a5, then maybe he's trying to stop an easy move to cut that diagonal that you were just talking about. If white gets on there without sacrificing too much, then I think it's pretty decent for white.
That makes a5 now look quite good.
Yeah. So for the reasons that we were talking about before, if white plays a5, Black will play b4 almost certainly. Yeah, it's just too much of a sacrifice to try and take back. So if white plays a5, so can we go to the digital board? This is the diagonal that we're talking about. If white gets a piece on there, then h2 becomes a tempo. It becomes a move which doesn't really give his opponent anything except bad stuff. And the way in which white can get on there at the moment is by playing a5, flipping the e5 disc, giving him access to h2. The only way black can get that back is e1, which takes far too much.
Or g7.
Where's g7? Or g7. Yeah, that's quite nice, isn't it?
That's interesting, but we should go back too much to the real board.
Did they hear us?
Of course. Yeah, so what I missed there was a5 in... Well, I'll stop talking whilst we have a look at what's actually happened.
And now white has cut himself off from that h2 move. And this gives black something to think about. Looking to perhaps sacrifice the h1 corner and to gain the h column.
But that's not going to be easy if he'll have to do it in such a way. The c2 disc at the moment is a bit of a bane for Piyanat, because if he sacrifices the top right corner, he's got to be careful not to give away a swindle. What we mean by a swindle is if black plays g2 now, I mean, it's not his move, but if he did play g2 now, then white would be able to play h2 without flipping the 2 row. So then he'll be able to take the corner as well, taking 2 moves, not giving anything back. But this was Erik's plan. He was looking at this sacrifice.
Do we have any comments on live Othello?
We do. We've got something from David Beck, but it's talking a few moves ago, so it's difficult to kind of, maybe we could go back and have a look at it on the digital board. So before. b7 before a5. We're not quite sure at the point at which he was actually making his comment.
Keep looking at the real board. Thanks for your comments, David. Keep them coming.
If you do make a comment about a move, if you let us know which move number it was as well, then that'd help us kind of locate the time that you're talking about.
David was my first Othello teacher, actually.
Was
David
he?
Beck, yes.
Online?
Online, exactly. We started discussing on Facebook. Then I went on to play my first game in Greece. And then I had to go to get prepared for the WC. Nobody could do that. And David pleasantly helped on that. He didn't know me that. It was really kind from his part.
Right. What a nice chap.
Yes.
He is. And in answer to the earlier question about how a good way to actually get involved and progress in early Othello is to play online and find someone who's better than you and willing to give you advice after the game. Certainly if you play over the board tournaments, your opponent often is willing to give you advice after the game. It can be a bit fast and frantic online, and not everybody is willing to do that. But if you ask, most players would be willing to give you advice. And if you were to do one thing, that's what I would say. Find someone who beats you consistently and ask them what you are doing wrong, and try to learn from their experience.
Yes, and
find David Beck online. He'll help you.
Definitely. And this is something that I noticed in the Othello community. There are many good players, top players, that are willing to teach the others. I'm not sure if that exists in other communities as well. There are people who are willing to share their knowledge. It's it's the fair competition.
Yes, we're all quite friendly in the Othello world.
Yes, definitely. Matthias Berg is also good on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So
I'm thinking that this is looking...
Piyanat, I think it's thinking a lot.
He is, which, as I said earlier, if Piyanat's thinking a lot, he hasn't got a clear vision of how he's going to win. Because if he's got a clear vision of how he's going to win, he plays very quickly.
But what do you think of the shape of the board now?
I think what Black needs to be thinking about is how he can create the right combination of discs along the 2 row so that he can sacrifice in the top right corner.
Does Black need to worry about getting on that diagonal at the moment?
No.
Okay.
Oh, that was expected.
Well, he doesn't now. So he's created an even region, just 2 spaces at the bottom board, that Eric can give him access back into by playing a5.
Well, why? Actually, I'm not sure why he did that. I don't...
I think he's... I hate to use the word tempt with 2 top players, because it's not often that you would get a position where one top player is trying to trick the other player into not noticing something. You assume that both top players are noticing most things, maybe to different depths. But I think the idea here is that if he gives white the bottom corner, then Black can take the wedge. White cannot sacrifice the bottom right corner immediately because the whole of the 7 row is black, which means that Black, whatever White does, Black can then sacrifice the bottom right corner as well. And then it would be White's move with only options being in the top left corner. But obviously by this point, White has saved the whole right edge as well, so there's no sacrifice available in the top right anymore, I mean, of any worth. But it does save a lot of Black pieces at the bottom of the board. With moves in the north, he can pull out discs.
Is there a reason why White would not be just taking the corner here?
It's unlikely to go anywhere. But the only reason that I could think of was if there's a nicer way. There's a 4 region within the Black pieces on the left-hand side. And if there was a nice way for White to play that out, he could get the last move there and also flip C7, which means that he might get the last move in the bottom left. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Black's not going to grab that long diagonal whilst the C2 piece is black.
That's correct. And here we have a the G2 move is poisoned by the disc at C2, where poisoning means that the move is less desirable because of bad consequences. If that C2 disc... Oh, move. So Eric's going to play out that region in the east there before taking the corner.
So what do you think of the position, about the positions A5 and A6 now? No, he won't play on that.
Sorry,
yes.
what was the question? What was the question?
No, I was just, I was that there were two positions, A5 and A6, but, well, okay, it's the B roll, which is all black, so I guess... Something happened today. So he played that. A6.
I think what he's doing is he's simplifying it. He's going to take the corner and he's just making it easier for him to read. It's one of the things that Michele Borassi said when we were interviewing him earlier, that if you can simplify the board and be able to read it in a way and you can see that it's advantageous to you, then it makes it easier. But it is starting to look like a white win, because I can't really see. Black has already sacrificed quite a lot, but he's going to get another sacrifice in the bottom right corner if white takes the bottom left corner. But white has options, black doesn't really.
Yes. His position doesn't look complicated enough. There's a big empty region in the north, and then the two small regions in the southeast and southwest.
Okay.
Well, white is ahead now.
Yeah.
So black needs to find a way to...
Well, black needs... I mean, that is almost forced. And it actually looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So white, if white takes the corner, and then becomes the southeast corner is a pair. So white plays the corner, black plays in the hole.
And this is a good example, actually, of how we all know corners are good. And corners and edges attached to corners can't be flipped and are good. But actually, there is almost more important to get the last move in a given region, because what Piyanat has done here is he's sacrificed two corners, whole edges that are saved by those corners, but he's getting the last move in each of those two regions, and therefore saving a lot of black discs. So there's the second corner being taken, the second edge being saved. Piyanat goes in there and has saved a lot of discs by making the last move in each of those regions. And now it's white who has lost all the choice.
Well, I think the important is Othello is to have stable discs at the end.
Oh.
So yes, in the definition of stable disc, it's not just the corner, it is creating discs, such as in the example that we are watching now?
Yes, of course. But what I'm saying is, it's easy to say why taking a corner and an attached edge are stable discs. They can never be flipped. It's not so easy to see why the black massive discs at the bottom of this board are stable. They pretty much are. It's more that when you get to this stage of the game, you might lose some of them in one direction, but you can't lose. It's very difficult for white to pull lots out in lots of directions. I mean, for example, now, if black plays h2, white h1, and black g2, it's just pulling out a whole mass of discs in the middle of the board. That despite white having those two edges and stable discs, he's just not going to get into them. Again, there's just no way for him to.
Yeah, so black's looking to get a lot of the internal discs and hoping that he can play out those two regions and manage to get enough discs without the 16 on the left and the 8 on the left and the 8 on the right.
Yeah, and so that's kind of my point, is we all know that corners are good, and that a lot of the strategy is based around corners, or the threat of corners and the potential of corners. But getting last move is more important in some ways as the game progresses. And what we're going to see here possibly is white taking all four corners and losing the game. And I hope that Piyanat just does that, just so that we can see it happen on the board, even if it's not the best moves. But I think it possibly is as well. No, white's going to unwedge, isn't he? I always like to see who, at this point in the game, starts using their finger to point count at the board and start counting, and who does it in their head.
How do you think the parity is going to work out here? Can black find any tricks to
get parity?
Get parity, or is white just going to play the parity moves and that'll be enough to get him over the line?
No, I don't think. I think that black will have too many discs, even if he doesn't get parity.
They've still got a lot of time left. There's 10 moves left in the game. So that's 5 for each player, and they both have more than 5 minutes on the clock. Piyanat is very good at endgames as well, so he will be taking some time now to sit and count and know how many discs he's going to end up with.
This is the kind of position that you can count as well, from here to the end.
Yes.
Because there's not many options. When there's a lot of options left at this point, it can be difficult to count all the way to the end of the game and know that you've got the right line. In this position, you may not know you've got the right line, but there's some very forcing moves that allow you, if you don't allow your opponent many options, you can be confident that they'll play certain moves and you can count all the way to the end of the game.
And there's a lot of discs that are not going to change, so you don't have discs flipping one way and the other way and back again. That can be really quite difficult to keep track of if you're trying to count. But when you've got a good stable mass of discs, you just need to concentrate on the ones that will change and work out what colour they're going to be at the end, and hope that's your colour.
Just whilst Piyanat's going through this process, it might be good to look at one or two of the other boards. But if we can keep an eye on this screen as well, so that if there is a move made, we come back to it immediately. Because once this move's made, the rest of the moves are going to happen quite quickly.
Well, would you like this for another table, maybe?
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Okay. That is.
So maybe table 3 with Wendy de Graaf and Nida. Okay, so that's finished. And who was black? Black was Nida. So that's a comfortable win there for Nida over Wendy de Graaf of the Netherlands. So if we try table 5, table 5 actually looks like it could be interesting. So that's over as well. And white was Fukuchi, I think. Yeah, so Fukuchi, the youngster, 10-year-old, beating Jan de Graaf of the Netherlands. That looks quite comfortable as well. Okay, well, let's go back to the main table because I have a feeling that there's going to be a flurry of moves there and we don't want to miss them. So Piyanat is looking to the end of the game. He's working out his best line. He's pretty much in the forcing position so he can tell what Eric is going to be playing. Is making sure, the first thing that you do is you make sure that you win. If you find a winning line and you're confident that it's a winning line, and there's other lines that could also win but are a bit more complicated and slightly more risky, you play the winning line. But once you are confident of that, you then try to maximise your discs, because later on in the tournament, if players are on equal points, sometimes discs come into play. And obviously, the more discs you've got, Piyanat's showing a lot of emotion there.
And go table 4.
Is it table 4?
Well, maybe we can go to table 4 if you want.
Yeah. Yes, so can we have a look at table 4? But if there's a move on table 1, can we go back to it?
All right. So we have Brian Rose against Ziska Helmus.
And it's... so Brian is black, Yiska is white. And it's black's move.
Mm-hmm.
Black is going to get a lot of edge pieces here, maybe 26 edge pieces. Oh, no, wait, 24. So he will need 8 internal discs.
Can we go back to the main table, please? It's good to keep an eye on this game and see when the moves come. White to play, there's only a choice of 2. C1 and B2. The interesting thing about C1 is it cuts off white's access to B2,
Mm-hmm.
and black will work on keeping that move free and play that last. Which will,
C1, E1 flips. C3 again.
yes, so you don't play E1.
So where would you play after C1?
F1.
Isn't white going to get the last move in that region anyway? I mean, all white has here is parity, and he'll just do whatever he needs to do to get the last move in each region.
Yes.
And it's still probably not going to be enough, but...
So may have C1, E1, F1, and then G1 maybe? Can we?
The other interesting thing is both of those moves flip the disc at C2, and then we go back to what we were talking about earlier, where H2, black can play both H2 and G2.
Yeah, but it's not as good anymore, in my mind, because B1 flipped E4.
It's two discs there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think it also complicated it a bit. So can I just use your... Okay. Yeah, so he's taken it back immediately. And they've both decided the best way to finish the game. And they're both agreeing on what was the best way to finish the game, which is normally an indication that it's the best way to finish the game, but sometimes not. And I'm slightly sad that black got the top right-hand corner, because I wanted to be a 4-white corner black win.
Is that 34, 30?
Yes, exactly. Win for black.
So quite a close game in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't get the 4-corner victory.
So let's go back to the Brian Rose game. Which board was that? Board 4?
Board 4, yes.
To see if that's finished. Looks like it's still playing, actually. No, it has finished, and
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so we've still got a live game here. Misa Sugawara is white against Nowak from Poland.
Misa is the reigning champion. Of
The reigning female champion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nowak is a good player as well. And they have, how much time? 3 minutes for Nowak?
And 6.
6.
It's difficult to see. So Nowak is not comfortable on time. Oh, that was a move to... there's another interesting diagonal here. We have, again, an unbalanced edge on the right-hand side for white. And Sugawara would be happy to play H2. That's the top right-hand corner, just balancing her edge and getting the 6 on 4, making it difficult to sacrifice. It's difficult to sacrifice down in the bottom right anyway. but Nowak played a3 to flip d7, no, d6, and take away access to that move. And I think I would say that black is looking slightly more comfortable here because it's white's move. But maybe not.
We want comments from the audience as well. What do you think?
Right, okay. So white has to take this edge. Black will sacrifice down in the bottom left into the odd region. There's 5 spaces down there that are all interconnected. White doesn't have any good moves elsewhere at the moment, but depending on how that bottom left corner works out, white may or may not get access to h2 to balance the right-hand edge. But black should get last move in that region, including at least one wedge. Probably 2, assuming that white takes this edge. Another option is for white to play d8. Now that it's not flipping c7. Okay, she's taken the left-hand edge. So yeah, b7 is the only
B7,
move
yes.
here. So that's a sacrifice. If white takes the corner,
Then black takes the other one at the end. He will.
well,
goes on.
black has to be slightly careful here because
At
if white
A7.
takes the corner, if white takes the corner and black takes a7 and white takes b8, then black doesn't have access to d8. So if he wants last move in that region, he has to sacrifice the whole of the left edge by playing b8 now. There you go. That means that whichever of a7 and d8 white takes, black takes the other and gets the wedge, leaving the bottom right hand 3 space for parity. But white can now actually, if she takes a7 and black takes the wedge on the bottom edge, d8, then white will have access to h2. And the sacrifice down there is not overly pleasant for black because it's a 6-on-4, where on the right-hand side there's 6 discs on the edge, 4 on the inside, so that if black plays g7 trying to sacrifice... Oh, no, but he's got the wedge. It's not a problem, not a problem.
Well, I guess now the next move will be h2 for white.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Takes the main diagonal as well.
Yeah, white is in a better shape now.
Well, black now sacrifices at the bottom.
Yes.
And then white has to play. So where's white going to play? If black plays out the bottom corner...
yes, black, white,
oh,
black. Oh.
Choosing not to.
Black doesn't want to play g7 because it'll swindle him. No, he doesn't. That's what you were saying before.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before, yeah. He's got the wedge on the bottom edge, so the otherwise swindle that would occur in the bottom right corner, he's totally safe from. And so my point was, before that move, if he just played out g7, h8, g8, then white's only move would have been b2, b1, which gives away a lot. And he can still do it now. Get both moves in the top left corner. last move in the top right. But white does get quite a lot of stable discs.
So take the corner.
Yes.
White takes their only move. And black gets the last 2 moves.
And many interior discs for black now, but
It's
let's see.
black, I think.
Yes.
Three. That were my. It's a bit difficult with the glare on the discs. Some of them look black and white.
It's one of the differences with live Othello to computer Othello. The computer usually tells you what the score is at the end, but in live Othello you need to count it yourself and hope you have got 33.
So what is it? Has someone actually counted it? Are we just sitting here looking at the board? 8, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 29, 30, 31, 32. Count the white ones, that's easier, because they've not got glare on. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Thank you to all the people in the chat who are saying what the score is while we fail to
32.
count it.
32, I think it is. Oh, so... Wow. I thought black had that, and I'm surprised.
Oh, I think that concludes round 2, certainly from our live stream.
We won't have an interview for you this time, but we do have the right to call in players after any given round. We will try and call in players that finish games early that are interesting games, so give them a bit of a break before the next round. But if there's anybody particularly that you want to ask a question of from what's happened on the board, then send us a message before the game ends, and we will send out a message to try and get that player in for a quick interview.
You have the right to send us a message, and you have to do that. Actually, it's an obligation and the right as well. We want to know what you are thinking, and we want you to chat also with us. It's live Othello, it's for you, most of all.
Okay, so that concludes round 2, and I won't be joining you for round 3. It will be Jeff and Christina. So we look forward to seeing you for round 3 as soon as it starts.
Get ready for Othello, the ultimate game of strategy and skill. Go head-to-head in a battle of wits. Think quick, trap their discs, and claim the row. Hold your nerve, take a chance, and turn the game around. A minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Othello from Ideal.
Othello, a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Now launched in India by Fun School.
So when did you start playing Othello and what got you started?
Yeah, I'm just beginner. I started the board game since only 5 months ago.
Okay. How do you practice to become a stronger player?
I'm using the Othello application and I have Othello board game myself and play with my family, with my team, our friends. Yeah.
What do you like about Othello?
I'm sorry, pardon the question?
What do you like about Othello? What do you enjoy about it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I like before I'm playing the type of the board game, I always thought the chess and the other board was always boring and it's really difficult to play. But after I played the Othello, I was changing my mind. Wow, it's a really interesting, fantastic game. I have to play, I have to teach the other peoples, have to learn it. It's really interesting. It's a mind game. It's really good, especially for the children. That's why I'm staying here. Yeah, I'm staying here.
Is there a player that you would like to play against during this tournament?
Yeah, it's a Japanese winner, the last year's winners. I forgot the name. I wanted to play with him. Who's the name?
Yusuke Takanashi.
Yusuke Takanashi. And the young guy? Fukushi. Yeah. I wanted to play with him, yeah.
So when did you start playing Othello and what got you started?
För cirka 4-5 månader sedan ungefär, tror jag att det var.
And she started playing for 4 or 5 months ago, and she's enjoying playing Othello.
Okay, so why do you like Othello, and can you talk about why you enjoy playing?
Varför tycker du om att spela Othello?
Ja, det är roligt att vända brickor. Jag vet inte riktigt, men jag tycker bara det är kul.
Yeah, she thinks it's very funny to flip the coins and sees tough word. Vad har du sista? Next question.
Okay. So who do you want to play against during this tournament?
Vem vill du spela mot?
Jag vill spela mot någon gammal världsmästare. Alltså bara inte för att jag tror att jag kommer vinna, men bara för att det skulle vara kul och bara kunna... Jag spelar mot en världsmästare i sådana fall.
She would like to play one of the world champions, if that's possible, to just the experience, to be tried with the top players in the world.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much.
3.
Okay, so when did you start playing Othello and what got you started?
Yeah, I started playing the Othello on the beginning of this year, and it's really interesting.
And why did you start playing?
Yeah, my friends are playing, so they are suggesting me, and so I learned very quickly and loved the game.
Okay. Is there a player that you want to play against during this tournament?
Yes, I want to play the last year's champion, the Japanese guys.
Yes. And also, how do you practice in order to become a stronger player?
Yeah, I play every day. Also, I do some exercise, like the strong and difficult exercise.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
4, 3.
Okay. So what do you enjoy about the World Othello Championship?
I enjoy meeting people from all over the world in order to enjoy the game, because I love this game, and I love playing. I love also travel the world because of the game.
So how do you practice in order to become a stronger Othello player?
Okay, I think I'm not a very strong player, but anyway, I sometimes play tournaments in Italy and sometimes meet with other players, and I also play on some app on the phone.
Is there a player that you would like to play during this tournament?
I don't know, maybe I would like to play some Japanese player because it's always a pleasure to play with them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay. Let's see. So when did you start playing Othello and why did you start?
I started playing Othello when I was 5 or 6 or 7. And I played it because my dad thought I'd enjoy it, and our family would enjoy it.
Is there a player that you want to play against during this tournament?
Fantastic.
Okay. And also, why do you like Othello? And can you tell us the reasons why you like to enjoy it?
I like Othello because it's a fun activity where you can enjoy and you can help your brain learn and move ahead.
Okay, one question, please.
So how do you practice to become a stronger player?
I either practice against my family or join Zebra or friends.
Thank you.
Get ready for Othello, the ultimate game of strategy and skill. Go head-to-head in a battle of wits. Think quick, trap their discs, and claim the row. Hold your nerve, take a chance, and turn the game around. A minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Othello from Ideal.
Othello, a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Now launched in India by Fun School.
Welcome everyone to round number 3 of the walk. We are sitting here together with Jeff and Christina. I'm Mirek, first time as a commentary here, and we're going to follow the very interesting game on table 1 against with Yusuke Takanashi and Nicky van den Biggelaar. So we have the best Japanese player according to the last year tournament results, and we have the best European player according to the rating list.
Well, Yusuke Takanashi has been world champion for 6 times, in 2009 in Gent in Belgium, in 2010 in Rome in Italy, in 2012 in the Netherlands, in 2015 in Cambridge in Great Britain, and as you mentioned before, last year in Gent. So good luck to both of them. What do you expect to see today?
I expect to see a game which will be more psychologic than actual skills, because both players know each other very, very well.
They have played 6 times before in the database, and Takanashi has won 4 and they've drawn 2. So Nicky has yet to win, but I'm sure he will have studied up and will be looking to get his first victory.
You can see it also from the opening that they play quite fast. They are not thinking what the right moves should be, but how they would like to surprise their opponent. As far as I know, Nicky would be quite comfortable to play this opening with black, but since he's white, he's in a different role than he usually is. And for Yusuke, so far it seems that he's going very fast and he knows perfectly what to do, so that's an easy job for him. Let's see when they start thinking. I think it's Nicky first, who needs to have some thoughts about the game, because one of the habits he has that he makes notes on his transcript, and he only makes notes on his transcript when something happens. So he does not usually take transcript, but
he has been in this position before, in 2014 at the World Championship against Arno Delaney. Nicky was white and has been in the same position.
I wonder if you look at the statistics, the general statistics of this position, whether Nicky is less successful or more successful as white.
Now they've gone a few steps ahead. Yeah, this is 50% black wins.
And it looks like Nicky's out of his own book.
Mm-hmm. So now we're into some new territory. I'm sure he's played the position many times before on practice games and on the internet. But it's one thing playing online, and it's another thing sitting on a table and staring down at the board.
Yusuke is taking some time now as well. I assume that he's trying to surprise his opponent as well. As we are in the analysis mode right now, we can have a look at the board. Black's turn. It's still quite early in the opening. We can go back to the analysis mode. It's still quite early in the opening, but I think there are not any clear lines of what should be played, because generally there is one good move that is just marked right now. B3 is first good looking move, and another second good looking move is G6. If they are the first look moves, so something that you think of immediately in 2 seconds when you see the board. Now I wonder what Yusuke is thinking, which one of the two he should play, or whether he's getting another ideas as well.
Yeah, B3. The good thing about that move is it only flips horizontally, those 2 discs, and it doesn't flip diagonally, and keeps Black's massive discs up towards the north there.
If we look at the database, maybe, Jeff, we do have H6, is it there?
H6 has been played once in the database.
It has been played once. It's a very unusual move that could be good, but
and that was in a computer game, so it's a game that...
That's a computer move.
Yeah.
That's a computer move. Sometimes Japanese move. It looks very ugly. H6 here. It looks very... Well, let's play it if we can have a look at it. If we play it, then Black flips an absolutely outside disc. He gets to an edge, which is quite a nice square at the moment, but it may seem to be fatal. It may happen to be fatal in the future. And
it gives. Excuse me to interrupt you, but it gives a quiet move to white at G6.
At G6.
Yeah, why to have an anchor at that moment? I don't think there's no need for that.
Exactly. So the issue about the computer moves often is that the computers calculate some number of moves in advance, and they seem to rate this move H6 quite successfully, but they do not see that 30 moves later in the future they might have a problem with that.
So he played
G6.
All right.
Well, probably the natural reaction would be G4 by white. But the natural reactions are not always the best.
Well, if you look at them, they're like statues right now. You know, statues of philosophers, maybe, that they are thinking well. You agree?
I agree. I think maybe in this.
No, they moved on.
In this kind of game, and the opening so far, it looks like it's a 2-choice opening. It's like not a game with many possible good moves. It's neither a game that is very aggressive with one possible move only, but it's a game when you have 1 or 2 options. G4 is played.
Yes.
They are both quite fast-paced players, so they will not take a very long time to think throughout this stage of the game. They will leave their time for the more important end game.
Well, if I remember well, since we last played in Athens in GP, you do the opposite. I think you think well in the beginning, you exploit all your time, and then you play fast at the end. Yeah. So what is the best thing to do?
I think the best thing to do if you want to be on the top level, and that's what we are discussing right now, this game, is to have a good time management and to keep your time for the end game. So it is not necessary to find the best moves in the openings and mid game, but it is necessary to keep the pace with your opponent, just to get to an equal end game. So Christina, don't take an example from me.
Yeah.
We have few players like me.
Well, you are the example that reaffirms the rule. You are the exception that reaffirms the rule, maybe.
I also find that I have the trouble of thinking too long in the opening and mid-game and finding I have no time left at the end. And it's not a nice feeling. Gets the adrenaline pumping, but at the end is where you really want to be able to use your time and sit and think and be totally sure of every move rather than just playing in, I hope this works out.
We have few players who leave the last minutes. I remember Mark Tastey is usually running out of the last seconds. Stéphane Nicolet as well, so the French guys. As far as I can remember, Matthias Berg, for example, on the contrary, is very good in his time management. He uses his time wisely and he's quite fast at the beginning.
And what's the penalty? If you run out of time, you've lost the game. Do you count as having 0 discs, or you count as having 32 discs?
Yes, if you run out of time, you lose the game. That for them, it's the biggest penalty. Now the score depends on the leftover time, on the remaining time, because if you run out of time, you have additional 2 minutes added to each player's clock. And if you run out of time again, those additional 2 minutes, then you lose 0 to 64. If your opponent runs out of time in those additional 2 minutes, then you still lose, but only 31-33. And if you manage to finish the game within the additional 2 minutes, then you count the discs and you lose by the number of discs that is actually on the board.
So you can, if you lose on time, you can never score more than 31 discs.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. But it can be worse than that. If you, winning on the board and losing on time is a horrible feeling.
Well, probably losing 31-33 is the result that makes you the most upset. But on the contrary, you have a very good score, very good Brightwell in the final rating, and it might be very useful in the qualifications to the semifinals.
Because the tiebreak we use in the tournament, if players have the same number of points, victories, the tiebreak is called the Brightwell quotient, is based on the number of discs. And there's a function, a mathematical function that takes the number of discs you got and then the strength of the opponents that you played and comes out with a number, which is the tiebreak score. So it's not exactly the number of discs you get, but if the number of discs you get is the only thing you can control yourself. So you always try and get as many discs as possible, and hopefully that gives you a good tiebreak. So if you need it, things work out well for you.
And can you, Jeff, also remind why it is called the Brightwell coefficient? What it means, the Brightwell thing?
It was named for Graham Brightwell, who was an English player who played in the 90s and 2000s, and perhaps even as far back as the 80s. And he, being a mathematician, as many of the Othello players are, worked out a sensible tiebreak, which everyone thought was a good idea. And that's what we use now.
So a very useful thing.
Hello to Graham if you're watching.
We have a student of Graham, Imre Leader, who is now participating in the tournament as a seeded player, so fighting for the semifinals. Now, if we go back to the game for a second, we can see that the position is being divided, slowly being divided into the black section and the white section. So the game is getting more aggressive. Every time the game is more split into two parts, you can say it's more aggressive, and usually, in general, it suits black player more. This is just a general rule, which obviously has many exceptions. But why it suits the black player more? Because black needs to fight for the parity from the very beginning, and in these aggressive positions, he will be able to create many regions, one-color regions with black discs around empty squares, or only white discs around empty squares. Now I jumped maybe too far. So, Christina, can you say a little bit about the logic of the parity?
Well, the logic of the parity is the ability to get the last move in every or almost every region. So we have seen some examples of parity before. We usually see that at the end game. We tried to play where, for example, parity is also called even number theory. When there is a region with an even number or empty squares, it is usually better to have your opponent initiate playing that region. So, for instance, when there are four squares, three squares, it's black, white, black, or the opposite, it's white, black, white, black again. So we try to play the last, so we try to play at the even region.
Can we say that who plays the last wins the game?
Excuse me, could you repeat?
Can we say that who plays the last wins the game?
Yes, exactly. This is who plays the last wins the game.
General rule of thumb, it's not always exactly like that. And Nicky seems to be cooperating with Yusuke to create a very difficult and aggressive position. Now,
do you expect that black will continue to work around the left-hand side there and try to take small nibbles out, or?
Definitely, he will go around the A column. He has no reason to break through the white mass. The reason to break through a white mass, there are usually two. Either you run out of moves and you're desperate, or you want to create some very important access. Now, can we have a look at the analysis for a while? Here we go. Now black's natural move. Oh, it's coming already. So let's go to the real game.
Mm-hmm. So what did he play?
C6.
He still keeps himself on the left side.
Well, white seems quite more conservative, I think, in that game. Mm-hmm. Yes, and black, on the other hand, okay, I actually didn't like that move, but what would be in his mind when he did that? Because actually, yes, he gives a quite quiet move to white.
I think he's looking many more moves down the line about how that edge is going to play out, the sequence of moves of the line on the edge there.
Oh, they play quickly now.
Now d7, black was trying to get access to g3,
mm-hmm.
So
he just took it again.
The main reason is to flip the d6 disc, which cannot be flipped back by white easily, and be able to play the g3 quiet move.
Mhm. So, except of a6, in which case white could take the d6. He could play, for instance, a row of f1, and later on try to take that by taking d8, maybe.
f1.
Yes, and then yes, he breaks that. He takes the d3. Yes, and then after that he can place that and that. But I don't know. Well, we may should see what he sacrifices or not. But I don't know if he wants to do that now. If white actually, if it would be good.
F1 is a great point, because at some point white can use it to his great advantage to get some discs in the middle. The question is whether he needs to use it now or leave it for later. He also needs to think about or start thinking, because we are slowly coming to the end of the mid game. So white will have to start thinking about the diagonals, about the main diagonals, and the diagonal from A8 to H1 is now all black.
Yes.
And it does not seem to be easy to turn it into all white quickly. Because when you think of it, how would a white disc appear on D5 or E4? White played a move, but the question is the same. How would a white get a disc on E4 or D5? Can we switch to the analysis for a while? These are the marked discs in the middle that we are talking about, and they might be crucial because they are impossible to be turned into white, nearly impossible. The white has only moves to A2.
What about D8? How's it look?
Or D8. D8.
Unfortunately, it's not white's move, so it's black needs to find something.
Black has a similar issue with D4 at the moment, this disc. He will need to think of it. And I wonder if we are still in a book.
I'm not sure, but they are thinking a lot.
It seems unlikely, given they've been thinking a long time. There's no games in the database that match this.
No.
So we're in uncharted territory.
So we're following the first game of this position ever. Hopefully. The serious game. A serious game.
Yes.
If it was played in a blitz or online, we don't count it.
Okay.
So, will black make a quiet move to d3, probably? What do you believe? Can we check that on the analysis?
To g3?
Yes, it still remains at the center, but maybe we should see the sequence of the moves later on. It is d3, then maybe...
Let's go to analysis.
Yes. So, let's play that.
G3.
Okay.
Very natural. Now it's white turn to think a little bit.
In that case, what would white play?
A look that looks good at first sight is C8 right here. But what I would suggest is to think of E1.
Because it breaks that, but on the other side...
First of all, it plays a disc to the F2 disc,
okay.
the right one, and it captures the main diagonal, a1 to h8.
So it retains control of that, of the tool of diagonal. So
we should go back to
the real board.
The real board.
Exactly.
That.
Oh, they have played.
At first, this looks like saying, I'm not letting you play down to the bottom row first. I will do it. I'm black and I want to take that line. And black does not want to break into the white region on the right. But do you see any purpose of this move? Or is it just to take one disc?
Not really. No, it is not just to take one disc, definitely. Wait for a while.
Because
we have to think on that.
Because some moves look like they just want to take one disc, play minimal move, flip as little as possible, which is the general guideline. And to create some nice moves, because now there is for black he created just the f7 square as the next nice quiet move.
Okay.
The question is whether he's really doing just f8 and f7 in the next move.
May I interrupt you for a while, because we have some comments on the YouTube chat.
Let's take it.
Well, first of all, we have to say hello to Daniel Olivares. Hello, Daniel. Nice to see you here on chat as well. And David Becks tell us that Graham taught at London School of Economics at LSE. So this is one information for our audience. Othello history now, for a while. Thank you, David, for the information.
You can also send us comments on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram using the World Othello usernames on those.
You can follow the World Othello Federation discussions as well.
And do we have a hashtag?
Yes, it's WOC Prague, I think. Mirek, you are the most adequate on that.
Hashtag WOC 2018. Or hashtag WOC 18 only.
Oh, we have a move. So it seems that black didn't made his opponent to avoid that area, as you said before.
Now, when white played c7,
yes,
I wonder if anyone will play anything different. It's perfectly natural move.
Well, we see something interesting, so.
Just a reminder, we still have the black discs d5 and e4 still unturned, so black's quite under control of that diagonal.
But okay, actually now there is a quiet move for black. It is on f7.
When I started playing Othello, there was I played at one of the first walks against a Korean player. Unfortunately, I cannot tell who it was. But I remember the rule comes from Korea, and he basically said that if there is a quiet move such as f7 right now, flips only one disc in the middle of the position, then there is no reason not to take it. Think about 2 seconds. Think 2 seconds about it, whether there is not some big flaw in that. Otherwise, take it. Now, Yusuke is thinking more than 2 seconds. What could be the problem about f7?
It is also the case that f7 is a move that white does not want to make, so black is in no hurry to play there. White does not want to make that move because it flips 2 discs on the bottom there, d7 and e7. If I'm white, I'd like to be able to get 2 moves from those 2 discs rather than just 1 move. Making sure that I keep the maximum number of move options available to myself, and preventing black from gaining control of the game and choosing where I'm going to be playing. So for that reason, black could choose not to play to f7 because he knows that also that white does not want to play there either.
So we have a comment from me. She says, Miss Tentoft. She says, Yusuke is strong, but maybe has a jet lag today. So Nicky might have a chance. So, well, what do you think? Does Yusuke has a jet lag today?
He should have a jet lag, yes. He just came yesterday morning. It was one day before the tournament. Okay, he had the full day to recover, absolutely. But on the other hand,
he's a strong player, yes.
1 day only, or 7-hour difference of time.
Yeah, I have a little bit of experience of playing with jet lag.
Yes,
from when I was living in Australia and I would travel to Europe to play in the World Championship. I would always try to arrive a week before so I could spend some time here to get used to it. But the Japanese tend to always arrive just the day before. And I find that it affects you most coming from that way where we're ahead of European time. The morning games are fairly easy because they're kind of evening, night in Australia and Japan. So that's just staying up normal. Where it gets difficult is towards the end of the day, where it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning back home, and that's a time when you're perhaps not used to being awake, and it makes the game a lot harder. But
we have a move.
All these players are good enough that I think they can even play well when jet lagged. So, and Yusuke hasn't. That hasn't been a problem for him so far. So.
Now Luigi was asking.
Yes, it's a D3 really good move here, but actually I don't know at which point he asked that.
G3, it doesn't matter because G3 is a really good move.
Exactly,
Here
yes.
and there and before, it's all the time and it stays there. So it was there before, it's still there.
He may use it later.
He may use it at much later stage. And also, if we switch to analysis, I would like to show one thing. Thank you. Now, it's White's turn, so let's assume he plays elsewhere. Elsewhere, we fill the board. We fill the board a little bit. Let's say G3 now, D8, G3, for example.
Oh, that's better.
Now, White takes it. Yes. What I was going to show and wanted to show that now there is an unbalanced edge at the bottom, but it's difficult for Black to take advantage of it. Black can play. No, sorry, not that. Black can play elsewhere. White can play elsewhere. And now there is a move to the X square, G7 for Black, which cannot be really taken because he flips all the G line discs, and that's the issue with move G3. Oh, thank you. I'll go back. So going back, trying to say as soon as Black goes to G3, he will have very difficult access to G7 as an X square in the future. Whereas we go to the original position, and now if White plays elsewhere, White plays elsewhere and Black goes to F7, he has still very nice access to G7 reaching control of the diagonal, and then he can sacrifice the control by h7, getting 3 moves in that small 5 square area in the bottom right.
Yeah, it's always great when you can get 3 out of 5 moves. Even better if you can get 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5.
So I think they will keep g3 for later. Let's see when it comes. It a lot of depends on White's moves as well. What White is going to come up with.
Oh, we have a hello from Binta. Binta, hello from me as well. I said you send it in Greek. Yasu Binta. Nice to see you here. Yeah, exactly.
Yasu Binta.
How do we say hello in Czech? In your language?
Ahoy.
Ahoy.
Ahoy. Ahoy Binta.
Ahoy Binta.
It's sorry you cannot be here. We read the news, so I'm glad you can follow us online and see the games.
And in Danish, maybe you can.
You say hi.
Ah, it's easy. Okay.
Back to the game, and A6 has been played.
What do you think? Looks like a natural move. Oh,
yes.
Quick reply.
So the quickest after that is A4 probably.
So let's see how many
Let's
seconds
see,
it will
yes.
take for Nicky
Maybe.
to put it there. Oh,
Oh.
here we go. Good, Christina. You're faster than him.
Thank you, Mirek. But I just watched that and said that. Okay, but black. Oh, okay, that's.
Black is fast and didn't leave us any time for a thought.
That quiet move we'd been talking about at F7, and since there's now a black disk at F2, it will also turn the F column, so it is perhaps less desirable.
So you're saying that the quiet move is gone for now?
The quiet move is gone for now, yes.
But we still have the G3. Nice move.
G3 is still there, yes. But again, it is White's
D3,
move.
yes, it's still a good move.
Now,
Why do you think he keeps that?
Now I'm not sure if he really keeps that, but if you look at the general position, there's a region of 4 top left, there's a region of 4 bottom left, there's a region of 2 upper edge, there's a region of 2 lower edge, and there's a hole on A5. Which means that if you take all these parts of the board, then black is keeping the parity. Oh, White is attacking the
Yes.
EX square.
Well, I think that was a good move. Because the SSC square, well, okay, if black takes corner A1, then he will take probably B1 and then goes on. The SSC square also occupied by black, so there's the possibility to take the corner later. Okay, just.
And black is trying to take the corner
Exactly.
A1, so he's flipping, getting a disc on his diagonal E5. Now, Christina, you
I
were
see
mentioning.
something like here. You have some comments, Mirek.
All right.
This is casual thing. He says.
Casual chin.
Who is that?
Is hello Mirek?
Yes, it's especially for you, Mirek.
Okay, hi Chin. Hi, back to you. Thanks for following us. Now, Christina, you were talking a little bit about the top edge.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how White Why white played the x square?
Why white would play the x square? Because in that case, it creates the opportunity. Well, if he sacrifices the x square, then, as I said before, then black takes the corner, but white has the opportunity to take b1, and then he will take probably later on with a sequence of positions. He will take. He will have the opportunity to take later on the corner h1.
Let's go to analysis, please.
Yes, maybe we can see that. It would be better to have an image on that. So, in that case, okay, I don't think that they would play that right now.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, yes, exactly. White takes a1, so it takes probably b1, but not now. He can place f1 later. Okay, yes. Black turns. Then okay, then white plays f1. Then black cannot respond in another way, so he will play that, and that. Okay, that's actually the easiest way to think. I don't think that they are going to do that. They have much more better options.
But that's an example of how the sacrifice of the A1 corner leads to getting the north edge and the H1 corner.
Even if black takes the A1 corner, these two empty squares E1 and F1, white can decide them to fill them at any time.
Exactly, yes.
So you can play it now. It's filled, and now the B1 still gets the corner H1.
So, okay, maybe we can be back at the real board.
So how are the players doing for time, do you think? We're at move 38. We have Takanashi has 8 minutes and Nicky has 10 minutes.
I think it's time for a break and an analysis, because move 38 means the beginning of an end game, and both are going to think it through now. They are not going to count the discs, but they are going to think the sequences that they can find to play this game out nicely. So it's Black's turn.
Black to play, yes.
Yes. And question is what he's thinking about. What we are analyzing, the A1 hypothetically, in reality it is not too nice because white has a very nice answer, A2 to it.
Yeah, A1, A2 is really scary for black, I think. Nope, but we have a move on the real board. And it was F7. Again, we can see that there's lots of regions developing.
We have quite quick answer. Not much thinking. When I have one x square, I take the other as well. And now you try to flip my diagonal.
Black can flip the piece at C3 by playing to A5 to get access to the diagonal. There's also access by flipping F6. You can do that by playing at H4. So black has options to get on the diagonal. It's just a matter of which one is best. And sometimes it's a good idea it can sometimes be an advantage to not have a piece along the diagonal.
Why is it an advantage? How can it help? Difficult to explain.
Yes.
Right?
If you can say in this position, if the C2 disc was white,
he played.
Play. We can leave diagonal control.
Yes.
Questions to another game?
We can
Well,
predict.
he wanted to regain that, so
Can we predict h5 now easily
h5,
by white?
maybe. But well, let's think of something more creative than that.
Well, if I look at the end game, it does not look like an end game against top players. Not that they would not play very well, but it looks like a casual end game where you play all the squares except for the x squares and the c squares next to the corner, until you have to, and when you have to, you go there and you try to control the diagonal, which is very, let's say, standard style of a game.
Do you think black will be able to avoid playing to a5 and keep that as to give him parity in the rest of the board?
I think that's what he's trying to do.
Mhm.
I think that's what he's trying to do, to
Yes.
avoid it at all costs.
There's can be some quite tricky things happening with moves if black needs to play to a7 or b7 at some point, and need to make sure that white can then not just play into a5. So these are the sort of things that you think about when you're trying to plan, compare two moves or compare moves and say, how will this affect my access to a5 or prevent me getting there or prevent him getting there?
Now, when you're mentioning this, can we have analysis? On the left side of the board, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 empties. So for now, the parity is talking for white on this side of the
Back
board.
to the real board where Nicky has made a move.
Oh, he has made, yes. Can we go?
And it was h5. Quick reply to h8.
To take a corner, why not?
Now you don't have to worry about ever losing access to the other corner.
Now I don't see any quite clear continuation for white. What he should come up with. Maybe h2.
Maybe,
or
but
a2.
h2, and then if black takes d1, then he can, no. Yeah, but he has to do something to respond later, and so as to take h7 back if he plays h2, because if he plays h2, then black may respond to h7.
The thing I don't like about h2 is that it's kind of it is easy for black to get to play h7 and then h1 and get to their corner, and that h1 corner is the corner which white's sacrifice at towards a1 was supporting. So if white's goal was to get the north edge and the h1 corner, playing h2 kind of gives that goal away.
We have a comment. May I interrupt you? It's Vidar Albrechtsen. Albrechtsen, I don't know if I pronounced that well. He says white a2 now. That might be good move. That might be a good move.
Yes, it's one of the options, one of the very few options. But if white plays a2 right now, it means that he's instantly giving up parity on the left side of the board, because there will be only seven free empties remaining. And if then black manages to play the rest of the board out, black is winning probably. But we will see it, because we do have the h1 as a real move.
So for black now.
So we've got 16 empty squares now. We're definitely in the end game. 16 squares is an easy end game for a computer, not so easy for a human.
Definitely, yes.
They are close to the computers, don't you think?
Yes.
They got 5 minutes left, both of them. So should it be enough?
There was something interesting that a guy mentioned yesterday. When he was talking about children, he said that children tend to assimilate what computers do now. So maybe in the future we will see future players of Othello find that really easy to have an end game of 16 squares. That is evolution. What do you believe?
Then, well, if it's a question of how fast can someone count,
yes, this is something that we learn in Othello. We have to.
Then it's not that interesting for evolution, because
why
the kids will be only competing to count the end game, and who's faster then who's better.
So why this is not good? Because who is faster and who is better? They will progress.
All right. We can have a look. We can see what
Yes.
happens to that.
In 20 years.
It will be also nice, because today we have many end games that are just blitzed out because the players have no time. They run out of time and they do make mistakes in the end games. Okay, it's exciting to see mistakes in the end games. It's fun to have them, and it changes the whole situation. Good for public, but.
So, what has more value? Having exciting end games or counting fast the end games? Jeff, what do you think? I see that you are thinking about that.
Yes, yeah. I enjoy the puzzle aspect of end games and counting the moves and trying to work out what the final score is going to be. Treating a position such as this one in isolation and just looking at it without worrying about the context of how we got here or where we're going, just working out which move is the winning move. There's websites and apps and programs you can get for endgame training, which help you get better.
So let's go back to the comments. We have some more comments. Well, Michele, would you like to respond on that? It's Vidar who says, think E1, F1, A1 was better than 8s, 5, 8, 8, I think. He also says, so to not flip C3.
Okay, I understand it. I understand the comment. We would have to go back in the game for a while. We can switch to the analysis for a second, just for a second. Yes, thank you. If we go back in the game, we mean for white to fill in this top.
Oh, Nicky has played. Can we go back to the real board?
Oh, yes. We look at that.
Oh, he played H1.
H1 and then H2. So it's Nicky's turn again.
Nicky's behaving greedy. He took the corner, now he's taking the discs adjacent.
Well, we are at the end game.
That's the good way to behave, right?
It's a good time to collect discs.
Well, Othello, I think, teaches us how to be disciplined in the beginning and how to take many things at the end. That's a good value for people to learn. Oh, what we have now?
Yes, now we have E1. There was a hole in the board for where both could play, so unless there is any specific reason, you need to take it immediately. And white takes even more discs. Now black, why doesn't black go to h7 right away? He's keeping it for later. He's just leaving it. He will, now he would flip
I think
6
that he's
discs with that move, but maybe he would flip more in the future. And also black, white doesn't have access there, so he can leave it for later.
Mhm. Yes, that was exactly what I was about to say, that there's no access for white.
Now, can we go to analysis for a second? Because we have a very nice decision making by black. Imagine black takes a1 first, and then a5. Then a5. Then
white needs to make a
white
move first.
will be able to, well, generally, then white will be able to go to a7 and flip all the black discs on the diagonal from a7 going to f2. Whereas, now if black takes first a5 and then a1, white still has the d4 disc there in the middle of the board. So by playing a7, white does not flip the entire diagonal.
Mhm.
But if white never plays the a7 in the game, then he keeps the d4 discs in the
Back
middle,
to the
one
real
extra
board,
disc.
How he played? What did he play? Oh, the expected. Maybe.
This is the greedy approach we were talking about, which is correct. Going e8, flipping the whole e column. Black's only response is there, because otherwise white would wedge in. Now white's got about one move possible. And now it's black.
Time for the corner.
Time for the corner, here it comes. Now white's got only one move, the x square. If he took the other one, then black would simply take the whole line back and done. And here, if you were wondering about the move a5, it will be the very last in the game. So black succeeded in keeping it till the very end.
And we have a win for the black.
And that should be enough to win. 38
Yes.
to black, 26 to white.
Congratulations to both of them. Actually to Yusuke, mostly. But it was a real nice game.
Yusuke did a good job, and as far as we followed the game, there were no big mistakes we could not identify. Even with the help of Zebra, we could not identify.
Exactly, but
anything.
it was mostly a balanced game, we can say.
Did we have a draw at a certain point?
I'm not sure actually. I have to check that.
Oh, Christina is looking whether we had a draw at any point.
So, we are back to to the central.
We have some live
Yes.
footage from the tournament room. It looks like many people have finished their games and going off for lunch. We now have a lunch break for
Yes.
an hour or so, and we will be back.
Everyone is hungry.
Yes. We will be back later in the afternoon with round 4.
Thank you for watching us till now. Hope you enjoy the games. And Mirek, do you want to add something, to say something to the audience for that round has finished? Come back, yes.
13:45.
And we really enjoyed your comments on YouTube, on Facebook, and hope you also learned many things through that session. Okay, bon appetit if you have a lunch too.
Thank you.
Get ready for Othello, the ultimate game of strategy and skill. Go head to head in a battle of wits. Think quick, trap their discs, and claim the row. Hold your nerve, take a chance, and turn the game around. A minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Othello from Ideal.
Othello, a minute to learn, a lifetime to master. Now launched in India by Fun School.